Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing Farmer's Bride. It's the latest film co-directed by Adebayo, Tijani and Opukeme. Now this film is an amazing film in the sense that when it premiered last year in 2024, it made a lot of noise. Yes, righteous noise I like to call it most of the time. And now that I've gotten to see for myself that it's streaming on Netflix and Kava, I kind of see why. I see why. This film stars Tobi Bakre, Gbubemi Ejeye, Aigbe, Femi Branch, and a host of others. It's an amazing film, if I do say so myself. I mean, that's an early spoiler. But now you get the actual official spoiler before we get into deep detailed territory. So you've been warned. Farmer's Bride is set in 1980s Ibadan, follows the travels of Funmi, played by Gbubemi Ejeye. Now, Funmi is a young bride when we meet her, and an unhappy one. She doesn't want to get married to this guy, Odu, played by Femi Branch. And we get to see why when Odu is introduced on screen. He's an older man, and she says he's old and tells him to his face she would not respect him, amongst other things that she does to just frustrate him and sort of like take agency back into her life. But it's all for naught because her mom tells her, you're going to marry this guy. Your father has accepted all the rights. Just go and start your life. And so Funmi goes to where Odun lives and is met with even more reasons to be unhappy because Odun's house is always filled with visitors. Because Odun is a titular farmer beloved by his people, he's very generous and always welcoming. Also sharing the household with them is the Aigbe's character, who is Odun's late brother's wife. Yes. They are pretty close, and this gets Funmi concerned a lot of the time. And the film doesn't explicitly address her concerns and whether there's any reason to actually be concerned. And you will get to know why. But there are signs that if I had to guess, I'd say they're pretty close, but I don't think anything came of it. Now, things take a turn for the better at first when Femi arrives. Femi is played by Tobi Bakre. Femi is the son to Aigbe's character and does the nephew to Odun. And let's just say that having two people within the same age, within a small confined space, might not be the best thing. Every other person, for some reason, did not see it. But for me, the audience, it is lost at first sight. Yes. The moment Funmi opened that door, she just could not get Femi out of her mind. And before you know it, the two of them are finding warmth in each other's company and embrace. And, things just go downhill from there. Now, Farmer's Bride is an interesting film. Yes, I thought it was interesting. Because at first you might think this is a story of this unhappy bride and how she gets to grapple with her burning loins and burning desire for a forbidden romance whilst inside a marriage. You are not wrong. But it changes a bit quickly when, surprise, surprise, Odun dies. And Odun's death wasn't accidental or anything. It was at the hands of his young bride because she was already pregnant for her lover. And in this village, there is this whole thing about bastards and how they are not welcome. And for some reason, having seen with our own eyes how powerful the goddess over this village is, thinks that when she commits murder, she will get away with it. It was very funny. And perhaps what Funmi did not put into consideration is just how close Odun and his late brother's wife were. And she is a herbalist or a healer. That's more or less what she actually says she is. But there is more to it. She's a spiritualist at the very least. And Funmi knows this. In fact, the poison that killed Odun was the woman's own. Funmi was just being silly. She was acting impulsively. And I would chalk it up to her age, I guess. The film sort of puts that not front and center, but it's sort of like this underlining theme that you can see where youthful exuberance takes shape and form in a very wild and crazy manner, and eventually, as you'd expect, consequences, it consumes them eventually. Funmi and Femi joined hands to kill a man who was not just good to both of them. For Femi, Odun was like a father. When his father died, Odun raised him like his own, and it was just the betrayal of the highest order. And that's because of what? Burning loins. As you would expect, Funmi thought that getting married to Femi would be the end of suffering and the start of blissful, joyful matrimony. But the opposite was what happened. Femi had this girlfriend who he used to date before he met Funmi, Banke, and then chased her away to go to Lagos and punish her dreams. But eventually she came back, and now that Funmi is indisposed with a pregnancy that everybody thinks is Odun's, but is actually Femi's. That is one long 9-month term because Funmi never gives birth to that baby. In fact, the rest of her dealing with the consequences and fallout from Odun's death takes place entirely throughout her pregnancy term. And I liked that. I liked how the film was paced for the most part, say for one or two places, key in point where um, the romance between me and Femi was established. It felt like something was missing before because all of a sudden we've gone from, hey, should I stop calling you auntie? Okay, I'll like, hey, well, let's go and chill till they're kissing and, and I'm dying, I'm burning for you. I felt that it was missing like one or two scenes that would have just made that um eventual romance pay off. Because we all knew that was where it was going to, but it felt very abrupt. Like either something was cut off on the editing floor for time or whatever reason, or for some reason they just thought, let's just move. But I think it's going to be the former. They thought that that would make the facing better. But for me, it just hampered it a little. But in places where this film porters like here, and a few other places, they are not enough to detract you from this film because honestly, it's a very well told film. All the actors are pulling their weight perfectly. Well, maybe perfectly is a stretch because nothing is actually perfect in this life. Almost nothing is actually perfect. But they are all doing a very good job. Gbubemi, Tobi Bakre, Femi, Aigbe, who won a Best Supporting MBCA for her role here. Everyone is doing amazingly well. The direction is actually very calm and, I enjoyed it. I thought it was like this calm, just say you're taking a stroll through an open field. That's how this film felt for the most part. Even when tension was built, things were happening. I liked how it just took its time, and just went jeje, jeje, jeje. And so, like I said, even in the times when it does alter, you are easy to forgive because you don't even remember the bad part, but the good parts are many and take you all the way. It was that good. The lighting was another thing I liked. There was this whole golden, sunny feel, that we had throughout the film, and I really, really like that because for some reason it just made everyone up. It made a lot of the expression easier to connect with, especially when we had close-ups. I liked that. Let me see, what else am I missing? Let me see. I hope I'm not missing anything. I think generally Farmer's Bride is amazing. It is well deserving of all the praises it has gotten. Yes, I had a good time with it. Had a very good time with it, and I feel a bit refreshed, and because I've seen a lot of not so good films back to back, and so it was good to have this refreshing breath of fresh air. I already mentioned what I didn't like, so I guess what I like suppresses all of those few things that I have an issue with. Something in particular that I liked about this film that I think is worthy of mentioning is how it played with the aftermath of Odu's death. So there was this scene where Messi Aigbe's character comes and calls out to the spirit of Odu to come take his revenge because she outrightly accuses his wife of killing him. She has her suspicions. She doesn't think it goes as far as her son being involved. She has her suspicions when the son claims that he's going to inherit the wife of his late uncle. But she has a bit of suspicion here and there, but I think for the most part, how the film is framed, you see her accusing finger pointing to just the wife. For the most part, perhaps she thought that the wife put a spell on her son or something. And so in this scene where she calls Odu's spirit, you'd expect the typical Nollywood thing where Odu's spirit would just come out and start hunt everyone. That's what I expected. I wouldn't lie, or a part of me thought could come up. And yes, while Odu's spirit does make an appearance 2 times actually, it is not exactly immediately after she makes this request of the spirit. In fact, a large chunk of how Femi and Funmi are brought down to their knees is both of them self-destruct. So I think nature was allowed to take its course. Perhaps the spirits were pulling strings that they did not see. But I think it was just karma coming for them. And so I like that even at the time when Femi Branch's Odu makes his appearance in this scene where the farmland that Femi inherited caught fire, he says no words. He's just on screen for a few seconds, but you feel the impact. In fact, a part of me did not even want him to appear anymore because I had really gotten on board with the whole thematic theme of that these two, your evil deeds, will come after you. And that was what was happening, and they were coming undone. And so I like that angle to the film very, 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 very much. I thought it was a well thought through angle, to just take the story through. So, like I said, Farmer's Bride is amazing. If you've not seen it, hop onto Netflix or Carver to go check it out. I think it is worth your time. Let me know if you've seen Farmer's Bride in the comments. What did you think? Do you think it's one of the best films you've seen this year or not? All? Come on, what are you doing? Nollywood again? God, I beg. Whatever the case is, let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.